Welcome to Wise Life. After 60, so grateful to have you here, Doctor. Well, as a question I'd like to begin with today. It sounds simple, but the more you sit with it, the deeper it becomes. What is it that makes someone stay in your mind long after they've already walked away, not just remembering them, but feeling their presence linger? That quiet pull. That unspoken desire to see them again, to be near them again, without even fully understanding why. Because the truth is, it's rarely about beauty alone. It, quote, "It's not always the most attractive woman who leaves the deepest mark, but the one whose presence feels irreplaceable." Many people grow up believing that men fall in love with looks. But over time, life teaches a different lesson. Beauty may catch his attention for a moment, but it's how you make him feel that determines whether he stays in your life and in your thoughts. In today's video, we're going to explore 5 beautiful behaviors, subtle, natural, and often overlooked, that create a deep emotional pull. The kind that makes a man think about you without trying, miss you without reason, and feel drawn to you in a way he can't quite explain. And the most interesting part is this: none of it comes from trying harder. None of it comes from being perfect. Before we go further, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Wise Life After 60. Here we gently uncover the deeper patterns behind love, connection, and human behavior. The kind that only becomes clear with time and experience. Now, let us begin with the first behavior. The feeling of ease that he wants to return to. When a man feels at ease around you, when he can relax into the moment without feeling judged, pressured, or evaluated, something begins to shift inside him. He may not immediately put it into words, but he feels it, and more importantly, he remembers it. If you think about it for a moment, much of life, especially as we grow older, carries a certain weight. Responsibilities, expectations, past disappointments, and even the quiet fatigue of navigating relationships over time can create a subtle tension that follows us into our interactions. So when a person encounters someone who brings a sense of lightness, not by trying to entertain or impress, but simply by being emotionally present and at ease within themselves, that experience becomes meaningful. It feels different. It feels like a place where nothing needs to be proven. For many men, what feels good in a relationship is not always what is commonly assumed. While women often describe a desire to feel safe and secure, many men, particularly those who have lived long enough to develop a sense of stability in their external world, are not consciously seeking those same feelings. Instead, they are drawn toward something that brings relief from pressure. They are drawn to moments of genuine enjoyment, to a sense of ease, to the feeling that they can simply be without needing to perform a role. When that feeling is present, they naturally begin to want more of it. This does not mean creating constant excitement or trying to be entertaining. In fact, it is often the opposite. It is the absence of tension, the absence of unnecessary complexity, that creates the strongest pull. When conversations flow without force, when silence does not feel uncomfortable, when there is space for both people to simply exist without expectation, that is where connection begins to deepen. Because in those moments, the mind is not working to manage impressions or responses. It is simply experiencing over time. This sense of ease becomes something that a man associates with you, not in a conscious, analytical way, but in a quiet, emotional pattern. He begins to notice that he feels better when he is around you, that his thoughts are less scattered, that his energy feels more grounded. Because human beings naturally move toward what feels good, he finds himself wanting to return to that experience again and again. Not because he is trying to, but because it feels natural to do so. What makes this even more powerful is that it cannot be forced. It does not come from saying the right things or following a certain formula. It comes from your own relationship with yourself. When you are comfortable within your own presence, when you are not trying to fill every moment or control every outcome, that calmness becomes something others can feel. It creates a space where connection can unfold without pressure. Perhaps this is why it is so often underestimated, because it appears simple. It does not look dramatic or impressive from the outside, but in reality, it is one of the most ample experiences you can offer another person. The feeling that being with you is not something they have to work at, but something they can rest into. The quiet magnetism of emotional balance. Emotional balance shows itself in small, almost unnoticeable ways. It appears in how you respond when something does not go as expected. It appears in how you hold a moment of silence without rushing to fill it. It appears in your ability to listen without immediately reacting, and to feel without needing to turn that feeling into action right away. These moments may seem insignificant, but over time they create a pattern, and that pattern shapes how a man feels when he is with you. What often draws a man in is not intensity, but consistency. And emotions rise and fall too quickly. When reactions feel unpredictable, it can create a kind of tension that keeps him slightly guarded. But when he senses a calm center within you, something steady beneath the surface, it allows him to relax in a different way. He does not feel that he needs to solve, fix, or anticipate what might come next. Instead, he feels that he can simply be present, and that presence becomes something he begins to value more deeply. There is also a quiet trust that forms in this kind of environment. Not the kind that is built through words or promises, but the kind that emerges from repeated experience. When he sees that you do not react impulsively, that you do not create unnecessary drama, that you carry yourself with a certain composure, even in uncertain moments, he begins to trust not just the situation, but the emotional space itself. Trust, when it grows naturally like this, becomes one of the strongest foundations for connection. Many people misunderstand emotional balance as detachment, but they are not the same. Detachment creates distance, while balance creates clarity. You are still fully present, still capable of feeling deeply, but you are not overwhelmed by every shift in mood or circumstance. This allows your emotions to have depth rather than volatility, and that depth becomes something that can be felt rather than explained. If you have ever noticed that a calm response changed the direction of a conversation, feel free to share your experience in the comments, because these small moments often carry more weight than we realize. The subtle power of curiosity and emotional space. In earlier stages of life, it can feel natural to fill every gap in conversation, to ensure that nothing is misunderstood, to offer clarity so that connection feels secure. But over time, experience reveals that constant clarity can sometimes remove the very thing that keeps a connection alive. When everything is known too quickly, when there is no room left for interpretation or discovery, the mind becomes passive, no longer leans forward. It no longer wonders. And without that sense of wonder, emotional engagement begins to soften. Curiosity does not come from confusion, and it does not come from distance. It comes from balance. It comes from sharing enough to be felt, while still allowing parts of yourself to unfold gradually. When you respond thoughtfully instead of immediately, when you allow a moment to settle before adding to it, when you do not rush to define every emotion, you create a rhythm that feels natural rather than forced. And within that rhythm, a man begins to lean in, not because he is being pulled, but because he wants to understand more. This kind of connection is often quieter than what is commonly portrayed, yet it carries a deeper form of engagement. It is not built on constant excitement, but on subtle moments that linger. A sentence that stays in his mind after the conversation ends, a look that feels meaningful without needing explanation. a pause that allows him to reflect rather than react. These are the moments that create a lasting impression because they invite participation rather than simply offering information. The gentle rhythm of giving without overgiving, what creates emotional depth, is not constant availability, but thoughtful presence. When everything is given freely and predictably, it becomes familiar in a way that no longer feels special. But when care is expressed with intention, when it is offered naturally rather than out of habit, it carries a different weight. A kind word feels more meaningful when it is not repeated endlessly. A moment of attention feels more valuable when it is not assumed, and over time, these small differences begin to shape how a man experiences the connection. This does not mean withholding or creating distance. It is not about playing a role or creating imbalance. It is about recognizing that connection grows in the space between moments, not in the constant filling of them. When you allow a natural rhythm to form, when you give without feeling the need to give more than what is true for you in that moment, you create something that feels real. There is no pressure, no sense of effort, only a quiet consistency that can be trusted. Many people, without realizing it, reverse this rhythm. They give continuously, hoping to be valued. And when that value is not immediately returned, they begin to feel unseen or unappreciated. But this often leads to confusion rather than clarity. When giving comes from a place of awareness rather than expectation, it changes the entire dynamic. It removes the need for immediate response and allows the other person to naturally move toward the connection rather than simply receiving it. The way you make him feel about himself. In earlier years, it is easy to focus on what we receive from someone else, how they treat us, how they show care, how they express their interest. But with time, a different awareness begins to emerge. We begin to notice not just what the other person does, but what their presence awakens within us. Do we feel at ease, or do we feel that we must constantly adjust? Do we feel appreciated, or subtly diminished? Do we feel like ourselves, or like someone we are trying to be? When a woman carries a quiet sense of self-respect, emotional balance and presence, she creates an environment where a man can experience himself in a more grounded way. He does not feel that he needs to impress, compete, or defend. Instead, he feels seen without being evaluation, valued without needing to perform. And in that space, something important begins to happen. He starts to associate that feeling with you. What makes this especially meaningful is that it does not come from trying to make him feel a certain way. It comes from being aligned with yourself. When you are not seeking approval, when you are not trying to manage his perception of you, when you are simply present in a way that is genuine and grounded, that authenticity creates a reflection. And in that reflection, he begins to see a version of himself that feels more whole. As we come to the end of this reflection, something begins to settle into place, not as a sudden realization, but as a gentle understanding that grows clearer the more we look back on our own experiences. What creates lasting connection is rarely what we try to do, but how we choose to be. It is not built on constant effort, nor on the need to impress or hold on tightly, but on a quieter foundation that reveals itself over time. And if you found value in this time together, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wise Life After 60. Here, we continue to explore the deeper patterns of life relationships and human connection. Not through quick answers, but through shared understanding, thoughtful reflection, and the kind of wisdom that only reveals itself over time.